Today I'm here with Melissa Olson. Hi, Melissa. It's lovely to have you here.
Hi, nice to see you.
Melissa fits perfectly in our Disordinati family because the Disordinati family is full of people who do various things and have a bit of an eclectic personality. And you work in higher education, deep in communication theory and systems thinking, but also you're producing an indie game, building creative community, and collaborating with your husband on a long-term passion project. So you're doing a lot of different things. You spent years working in structured academic and design environments. What pulled you back into more hands-on creative work?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I always have been of the mindset that anything I do will be creative, just because of how my brain works. So having the opportunity, my husband is more of he has his own company, so he does a lot of different things. And whenever I get the opportunity to be helpful or involved in a project, it helps me get back to my creative roots, training as a designer and a photographer and an illustrator. So I'm not doing any of those like hands-on creative things with the indie game, but I am getting to give feedback and direction and help kind of guide the storytelling aspect, which is my favorite part of creativity. Getting to share stories and connect with people with stories. And that's, I think, how I view my own creativity in my higher education work. I'm helping people tell stories as well as develop
Mm.
new chapters of their stories for themselves. So helping them find the pieces they need to put together to create the story they see for themselves is something that I incorporate into my daily life. And I think it helps me to feel more fulfilled in my vocation, in a way that I'm helping people and I'm creatively problem solving. I might not be
Mhm.
doing visual art, but it does inform like the things I do for myself, like journaling and poetry and things like that, that maybe are just for me. But I think having a background in creative problem solving and just creativity and creative thinking is applicable to any field. But getting back to the project of working on the game has been really fun, just because I also love games in general. It really helps me think through different problems. Even when I'm playing a game that's casual or completely unrelated, it helps my brain to process things in a different way. Gamification is a big thing I use for my own processing and my process of doing work. So when I can kind of switch off of a task that I'm already working on and move into a different plane of problem solving, it kind of helps me see it from a different angle. It like forces a reset, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I kind of try to always have a balance of like something I'm doing that's a passion project or assisting somebody's passion project and like my day-to-day work. And that helps me kind of have more of a holistic view.
Fantastic. And I love what you were saying about staying true to your vocation, one way or the other, finding a way to have that. And because we've talked about brain, so you're working with communication theory, which I think is very fascinating on one side, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about what it is, and then creative production on the other. There do you feel like these are separate modes or are they part of the same process in a way?
I think that they're definitely related. And as I'm finishing my graduate studies, I'm getting a master's of strategic communication. As I'm finishing that up, I feel that I'm basically learning the language of what I've
Hmm.
always been doing, in a way that helps me analyze it better and be able to more clearly communicate to stakeholders what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. Um, so I imagine it would be like somehow living in a country and not speaking that language and then suddenly understanding what people are saying instead of trying to piecemeal it together. So I find that in my study of different communication theories, there are a large number that have been coming up in my graduate studies that apply directly to the work that I'm already doing and would apply to my passion projects and marketing, really anything, even community projects that I've worked on.
Hmm.
Um, Studying the different theories behind decision making of humans is
Mm,
just fascinating. So I think it's definitely interconnected, and it gets more interconnected the longer that I study it. But I think that the thing that was really eye-opening for me is that it isn't there because I studied it. It was always there, and now I just know what to
mm,
call it and what to like specifically be looking for. So it kind of, I hate saying things are more efficient, but for my own brain processing, I do feel like it's going to be more efficient for me thinking through decisions and making choices about even projects like the video game
yeah.
when marketing or talking about it. I act as the producer, so I think it'll help me be more efficient with the time, the limited time I do have to spend on the game
Yeah.
moving forward. So,
Yeah, and that's so important. I remember when I was in high school, we studied this Italian poet called Pascoli, and he was
mhm.
talking about this little fanciullino, which in Italian means little child. And the reason why it stayed in my mind is because he was saying that when we're little, we give names to things. And it's a bit what you said, no? Having the knowledge to understand what is what and using skills from different universes that somehow make sense together. You described Mary Bear, which is this video game with this very sweet bear, as a long journey. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about what Mary Bear is and also what kept you committed to it over time.
Sure. So, I mentioned earlier, my husband's mostly a creative. He's a filmmaker, visual effects artist. He's also a teacher at a community college here in Northeast Ohio. But he just decided during the pandemic, as many people did, to teach himself a new skill. So he already had animation background, visual effects, that kind of thing. But he wanted to learn coding and programming. He already knew some web coding, so that was a great place to start. But he taught himself a couple of different engines, but he landed on Game Maker,
Hmm.
which is an open source engine that is created by the same company that has the Opera browser. And the coolest part to me, this was before I was really involved in the project, was that it was a project or a product that was built for people to be able to access it. And I'm a big proponent of access to tools, access to
Hmm.
education, and that can be a huge differentiator for someone in the story that they get to tell of their life. So I like to help people open doors and make things available. So it was exciting to me that my husband's name is Corey, so that he could
Hello,
find a
Corey.
product that was, yeah, so that was open enough that he could share what he wanted through that platform. And then, so that was back in 2020, and it started really small. He did a game jam, which most of the game jams participants in that particular one were teams of people. There were like 5 or 6 people. And I think it was a week. It might have only been 72 hours. It was between 72 hours to a week where they got the prompt and then they created like a small game and posted it, which he's familiar with that kind of stuff because he used to do like the 72-hour film festivals where you would make a movie and like a
Okay.
short film in 70, which is crazy. And we're not, I mean, we're not old by any means, but we're not college students anymore. So, like, staying up and producing a game in 72 to however many hours was a lot. But he really enjoyed it and he learned a lot from that process. And that was when he really decided to start working on a platformer game. And he decided to use Game Maker. That was where the Game Jam had been through, and that really solidified use of that one. And the thing that struck both of us, because he was showing me a lot of other games that were made using that engine, was they're mostly pixel art games.
Mhm.
One of my favorite, I love Stardew Valley, which is a very popular cozy game, and that's more of a pixel art style, like a an older style that
Yeah.
has gotten very popular. But Mary Bear, he decided from the very beginning would be all hand-drawn artwork, and it's
Mm.
based on like 1950s, like mid-century children's book art.
Amazing.
Um, so he has been hand drawing all of this stuff since early 2021, I want to say, is when
Oh
he really
my.
started getting into the game. And it's been a side project. He's also an author. So he does a lot of things. But working on the game, really kind of took on a new life in 2023. I had the opportunity for my work, my day job, to go to a conference in Boston called UPSEA. It was the national conference for, and I work in continuing and professional education as
Mhm.
well as
Yeah.
online learning. So the conference was in Boston that year, and the right before um, that conference was happening right before PAX East, which is the
Mhm.
Penny Arcade Expo. It's one of the largest gaming conventions in the world. And the game was kind of in early phases of having the demo ready to post on Steam. And Corey wanted to go and meet other developers and just see kind of who we could get to know at the expo. And I went with him for two of those days. And I had been learning so much about the game. Basically, I became the producer while we were at the Penny Arcade Expo in Boston in 2023. Um, right? Is that right? Yes. No. Yes. Because we didn't go in 2025, but we went in 2024. So in 2023, we didn't have the demo yet, but we had a Steam Deck, which we had a build of the game that we had put on so people could see it. And we actually ended up meeting some of the guys who are from Dundee,
Mm.
Scotland. That's the
Amazing.
headquarters of where Game Maker is. And they were actually eating lunch, and I was handing out postcards to people and seeing if anybody wanted to talk with us, that we were indie developers. And I actually handed it to the guys from from Game
From
Maker, and they chased me down and they were like, "Is this your game? We saw this somewhere, and we wanted to see if anybody knew these people because it was different." The
Mm.
pixel art was very prevalent on Game Maker, and that's really all people thought they could do on the platform. So our game looks really different than a lot of the
Yeah.
other art. It is a 2D platformer. It's basically set up like a Metroidvania game, but you don't
Mm.
die. So like
That's good.
there's little
That's
puzzles and
really
like you
good.
fall down. There's a dedicated dance button. Like it's really a
Yeah.
game meant for casual play and for you to enjoy the artwork that's in the
Yeah.
game. There's a lot of like Easter eggs. But getting
We
to
love
meet the
Easter
people
eggs.
from Game Maker was really, really
Yeah.
encouraging because they were very supportive. They wanted to help answer questions. There's a really good community around that
Mm.
engine. So whenever we run into any issues, Corey is able to talk with another developer or
Mm.
connect with somebody at Game Maker themselves to kind of resolve whatever that issue is. And they've been really great. We got to see them in 2024 as well when we went. So between doing that event and then now, the demo is live on Steam, and it was recently updated. We have a lot of animations in the game, like cutscenes, which is also unusual for that engine. And because it's hand animated, it's a bit different file type, so it causes some
Troubles.
hiccups, we'll say.
Mm.
But there are things that Game Maker really wants to make um, easier for people because they're wanting to expand into 3D game engine work
Mm.
as well. So I've found it to be a really collaborative experience for us to work on this specific game engine and with the community of indie game developers.
Mm.
There are other husband and wife couples in the indie gaming industry. And I find that a lot of the cases have the one spouse is very much in the technical side, and then the other spouse is more on
About.
the like, I'm on the news circuit, I'm talking to
Yeah.
podcasts, I'm making calls and getting us somebody who's on Twitch to maybe play through the demo or whatever. So it's been really helpful. I definitely think going to professional events for things like this are really the thing that makes it more than just it is a passion project, but it makes it more real.
Yeah.
And Corey definitely sees it as like part of his job to create this piece of art and then try to get it out for people to find and to enjoy. It's just like when he writes a book, he finds it a success when somebody plays it and they enjoy
Yeah.
it, or somebody reads the book and they enjoy it.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
not so much about like getting a publishing deal or like a distribution deal where like as a producer that would normally be the way I'm approaching it. But for me, it's more about, like I said earlier, like getting the story to the people that it needs to get to. We're really passionate about utilization of things like games to create connection and to build community because that's what it meant to both of us growing up. It was a thing where you went to your friend's house and you played games together, even if it was an individual playing, like you took
Yeah.
turns. It teaches different skills, like people who are trying to introduce their niece or nephew or their child to gaming. It's a good game for that because you don't die, and
Yeah.
it's
I mean, that's
there's
really
a
something.
you're trying to like solve this case of like what happened when I came here and I wanted to become a mascot and how do I do that and I need to meet my neighbors and wholesome
Yeah.
things like that. So, and it looks really cute. So
Yeah.
it's really different than what I do during the day. So it's really fun to be able to sit down and see like, oh, what did you do today? And Corey will tell me how he drew a freezer where there's a group of penguins that have popsicles and you have to jump on the popsicle sticks and
Fantastic.
not get too frozen before you get to the end or
I
whatever.
love that. I
So,
mean, this game sounds very delicate also, and I love that you don't die because there is a lot of incentive to, violent games and fast-pacing games, and we need to kind of slow
yeah.
down, take a breath,
And
and
it can get really frustrating when you have to go all the way back to the very beginning
yeah,
when
of
you
course,
can't solve the puzzle. So he originally developed the game for someone like me because there's a lot of games that he enjoys that are too
yeah,
hard for me.
yeah,
Not to say that the puzzles aren't challenging, but they aren't stressful, if that
yeah,
makes sense. So
mhm,
like even if you have to end up falling down and like climbing back up, there's
yes,
stuff for you to look at, and there might be things
yeah,
that you didn't see the first time. There's things to collect.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very much a casual game. I don't know if the cozy gaming community would call it a cozy game, but I don't know that I'm worried about that. It's more of just it's like playing through a children's book in a
Hmm.
really interesting way. So it has a cute story. It's pretty to look at.
And children books are, I think, some of the most amazing books for adults too.
Yeah.
So I feel like, the challenges that we might experience playing this game are challenges that are relatable in real life. You fall, I mean, I don't know if from a tree, but you fall from something and then you get back up and, have a different and new perspective and try again. So um, this is really beautiful and sweet and calm, and I'm also a fan of this type of games. You also anticipated one of my questions because I wanted to know about this creative partnership. What's something that working with your husband on this project has revealed about how you each think or create differently? You already said something, but maybe you can tell us a bit more. I'm curious because you said that your husband is used to doing these 72 hours challenges, so he might work well under pressure. I don't know.
So we've been married for 9 years this year and together for 12 years total. And he's a little bit older than me, but I think that one of the things about both of us is that we each love to create things ourselves, but we also like to be part of a group that's putting forward a
Mm,
creative effort. Um, I don't have as much background in film as Corey, but I've done some things, not in the same vein as him, but more talent side writing kind of things
yeah.
like that. So I think that one of the things that is highlighted in our collaborative efforts, which we do beyond the game. We've done like some music videos together. We've
Mhm.
done a few different film projects together, and that was much earlier in our relationship. And for us, I think it highlighted that our strengths are complementary and that we help each other in ways that are things that don't come naturally to us. So I think part of the way that we've been able to collaborate creatively grew out of us learning to know one another and how we work. Not to say that we don't have disagreements or creative. disagreements. I mean, I can think of times where I was getting to be an early reader for stories that would later become novels that he's written. And those created some of our very first real fights
I can
because
imagine.
he was storytelling so well. I was getting so invested, and
Yeah.
I would make requests of him as like the person making this world happen. Like, you can change this. Like, this isn't okay. Make this different. And he's like, well, no, like that's how the story goes. So I think that there's, depending on who's the champion of the project or whose creative effort it is, kind of changes the dynamic. And we've
Mm.
learned over time, um, I'm the purveyor of the world, right? Like, so this game, Mary Bear is Corey's bear. Like, this is his ship to steer, and I'm just here to provide support and to row in the direction that he needs me to
Mm.
row, or to locate the resource or the thing that will help get it to the next level. And he would do vice versa for me. So there have been different times where I've been working on things. I had a podcast in the past that Corey
Mm.
was very helpful with when I was learning new software to do podcasting. That was back in, oh gosh, 2015, I want to say.
Ah.
Oh my goodness, that was a while ago. But there have been like some photo projects I've done where he was assisting me with crew work, lighting, things like that. Um, but it's really like and if in for like people who have a background in production, like being an assistant director versus being a director.
Mm.
So, and we've done that for each other.
Yeah.
So, and those can be pretty harrowing if you have personalities that aren't
Yes.
meshing or not. And I really think that those kinds of experiences for us together, because we were a little older when we got together and then when we got married, it really helped to show this person is collaborative. We can work together. And if we can work together, we can solve like life problems together.
Yeah.
So we always say we are very similar, but we're also quite different
Mm.
from one another. But we always say we're complementary.
Mm. That's
Um,
good.
we're more about complementing each other than we are about compromising with each other. We're always friends first. And we both have that approach in most of our work. So
Mm.
even when I'm at work on campus, I try to find commonality with people
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
commonality is going to be the best way to move forward when we encounter challenges. But it also helps us to remember that we're humans, which is a lot easier when it's your spouse. But
Yeah.
it can also be a lot harder when it's your spouse because you assume they're going to be on your team instead of like working
Mm.
through something or having some sort of creative difference and really getting to an impasse. It can be even harder to not just like group think and be like, well, I need to go with what they say. I don't want to like rock the boat.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to for the creative, right? So it can be beneficial and it can be difficult, but I think for us, especially working on projects like this, it helps us to maintain our own communication channels and our own language with each other in a
Mm.
way that I don't think we could have if we weren't both creatives.
Yeah.
Not to say that people who are creative can't be in relationships with people who are not creative, but I think it really, especially, well, I can't speak for Corey because I'm not him, but I feel like for me, it helps me to understand someone better when I can
Mhm.
kind of understand
Yeah.
how they would think through telling a story, whether it's real or fictional, like even how we tell our own stories about our own life.
Absolutely.
So I
It
think it
is.
also
Yeah.
like he's a much more introverted, more thoughtful person. I'm more of like a process it externally person. So for me to be able to work on these creative projects with him, especially, it helps me kind of see the inner workings of like what he's thinking as he's processing the world around us through a game, which seems so strange to say out loud, but really, I mean, what isn't a reflection of our own experience,
Yeah.
especially a creative endeavor. Like there has to be some personal thing in it or else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even the fact that, he chose the layout based also on what games you like. I think there is a bit of, romantic side, but also an awareness of the world within the person. And this, I think, is the most beautiful thing about being creative. And you both need community. That's something that you mentioned before. Um, and you're involved in arts and community building in Akron. Did I pronounce it correctly? I don't know. Akron?
Great. It's
Akron.
the
Okay,
acronym.
sorry.
Yeah.
There's so many names in the word.
It's okay. It's okay.
Do you feel like creativity needs a physical community, or can it exist fully online? And this is something that I ask myself also on a daily basis because I work on older people, how they feel, for instance, excluded from the community, if we need, physical community hubs. So I was wondering, what is your experience with respect to community building?
So I think, oh my goodness, that is a big question. And part of kind of what I'm studying in graduate school. So I think over my lifetime, I'm an elder millennial. I've been using the internet since it was really new. My mom worked on the same campus that I work on now, so I had access to email and internet pretty early, just because of the fact that my mother worked on a university campus. And I very quickly took to coming home and emailing my fellow children of faculty members, as if it was live chatting. So like we would
Yeah.
we would schedule time on like Thursday afternoon. We'd get home from school and then our parents would be home and he'd be like, "Let's go on at 5:30 and I'll send you an email and then you can email me back." And it was like it seemed so like science fiction as a child, but now, and then I grew up and I used AOL Instant Messenger and I had Friendster and MySpace. I did all the micro blogging back in the day, but I really do think that a lot of the community that I built through that, there were real, there was real community built, but there was also like parasocial community and also almost fictional community, because
Mm,
even like it's a lot more prevalent now, but trolls and things like that existed
yeah.
then. We didn't really have names for that, but it was still just as it was actually probably easier to be anonymous on the internet
Mhm.
when I was young. And I think, um, but I feel like that's a reflection of our human society in person. So I think whichever way is feeling comfortable or is feeling natural is going to be the best way. And I
Mm,
think depending on a person's understanding and ability to utilize things like social networks online or even just different types of communication, even like text messaging,
yeah.
and can be very helpful and very supportive of community building. It just depends on how both parties are utilizing it. So I don't see that one is better than the other. I see kind of the need for both.
Mm,
So it's an and question
yeah.
and as opposed to or. Working in online education, I do know that there's the difference between slapdash teaching online because there's a
Yeah.
global pandemic, and planned for education, designed education that's for the online community. I'm in a fully online program, and I get to know my peers through things like this. Like we have calls where we get in group chats, and we meet up and we get to see each other, and we're not necessarily even in the same time zone. So
Mm,
um, I can see where community develops more quickly
yeah.
um, in a physical space. But there are people that I've been friends with for over 25 years that I originally met on the internet. And
Amazing.
I see them now when I
Yeah.
can. Not super often, but some of those friends that I met on the internet when I was a teenager have stayed in my home. They've come with their partner and stayed in my home, and they're dear friends. I really do consider them dear friends, and I'm better friends with some people that I met on the internet than people I went to high school with,
Yeah.
um, for example. So I really think it helps you find the people that are your people, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
But it
That's
really
really
depends
true.
on, yeah, it really depends on how you maintain or want to engage. But it's just
Mm.
like that in real life. So even before the internet existed, if you weren't connected with someone in high school, it's unlikely you would stay connected with them until your 20th class reunion, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's an extension of our reality. Am I concerned with how things are changing with AI? Absolutely. I think that there are there's a great need for digital, I don't know, hygiene and digital
Regulation.
yeah, regulations for sure, but also like knowledge,
Mhm.
like literacy, digital
Yeah.
like communication literacy, so that especially young people understand. And I have a lot of student assistants in my role, and I talk to people who are 19, 20 years old a lot about what parasocial relationships
Mhm.
are and why it's important to really understand what that means, and that it's not a problem to have parasocial relationships as long as you remember their parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
Just like when we were young,
Mhm.
you would have acquaintances, and learning that there would be people that you knew who they were, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they know who you are. It's
Yeah.
very similar with how influencers are starting to have these like community relationships built around them, but it's really kind of one-sided,
Yeah.
um, and very similar to like the teen heartthrob kind of things we had growing up, like everybody having a poster of some
Yeah.
teen boy that was on some show that, or was like some pop singer that we all knew because he answered some questions for some
I'm
magazine.
thinking about my posters right now.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I mean, and they're real people. So I think it's just the internet has somehow made that more amplified,
mm,
because of things like algorithms, and I don't know that that's good.
yeah.
I can see that the theories of communication have shifted and they still apply. And you asked about that earlier, and I think one of the things that I really like to study, and it's a very common theory, is uses and gratifications theory, which is kind of the opposite of the theory where because of something in the media, that's causing humans to do something, when
Mhm.
really the media is a tool and we're looking to it for to fulfill something. So
Yeah.
if I need to know something, what would I do? It used to be that I would go to the library and I would
Mhm.
research, but now a lot of people, their answer is to go to Google
Yeah.
or go to YouTube and look up, like, how do I fix the toilet?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
just look for a YouTube video. But it could be different for different people. But that's the gist of the theory, is that we utilize it in the way that we need to for what we're looking for, and not the other way around. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to become a DIY enthusiast just because there's only DIY content fed to me. And the algorithm amplifies that. And I think it's the same with like friendships and relationships. It's creating these like echo chambers
Mhm.
where we don't see as much differing opinion. We don't see as much we don't see different viewpoints because the
Yeah.
algorithm doesn't give them to
Yeah.
us. But we made the algorithm, like we gave the
Mm,
information, because it's really easy if you've never tried it to hijack your algorithm to just
absolutely.
start searching for like a couple of weird things, or
Yeah.
click on one weird video and then suddenly all your videos are about like
Yeah.
Bigfoot or something. Like, it's really easy
Yeah.
to mess up the algorithm because it's just an algorithm.
Absolutely. I
So
went from a week of having just horror news, like horrible, news, to now, thankfully, I've learned it. So now I'm just looking at videos of cats or dogs, and now this is my algorithm. So,
I have only moon content. I
but
have like
perfect.
all moon stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's even better. Now, with graduate school ending soon, do you feel like you're becoming, and this is my last question, more focused, more open? How do you feel like this has changed you as well? Like if you had experienced an identity shift?
I don't know that it's I don't know that it's from grad school, but I'm gonna be 40 next year. So I think getting to this part of my life, I mostly feel like I'm just finally putting the pieces together.
Yeah,
It's feeling like when you're three-quarters of the way through a jigsaw puzzle and you can kind of feel like you know where all the pieces go and you just have to put them there. Um, like I don't feel like any pieces are missing at this point. I feel like I just need to like slide them in.
that's really
Um,
good.
and I don't think it's like a shift in my identity. I think it's just more of like locking in, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I think it's also just letting go of the idea that I had when I was younger, where one day I would just know and I would be in like the flow or
Yeah.
whatever. But that's not really how life works. And especially with like how rapidly technology changes. I like learning and I like
Mm.
education, but it's not that just because I'm graduating with my master's doesn't mean I'm gonna like stop learning. Like that just, or if I never would have went to grad school, I would still be
Absolutely.
learning all these things. So I think it's really it's just kind of being less concerned about it and more just being in it, um,
Mm.
and having that be good, not just okay, like it's good. Like I'm glad I'm finishing up and I'm glad I'm gonna be more aware of the terms of what I can say about what I'm talking about. And I have a piece of paper that says I'm a master at it, which is nice. Um, but that doesn't change other things outside of me, right? So like there'll still be people that question why I would make that decision or like why would we do that? Um, Regardless of whether I have a piece of paper
Of
or not, or
course.
whether I have that experience. But I think it means less to me, like what those people would
Hmm.
be questioning.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'll still have those conversations and still work through
Yeah.
those things. But I don't know if it's a shift so much as like a wow, that sounds so weird. Like an arrival. Like, okay.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know that I've thought of it that way, but I think it's really it feels like good timing and like I am ready to do the next thing and my confidence level matches kind of where I am.
Mm. That's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much for sharing all that
Of
you've done
course.
and all your thoughts. And please go check Mary Bear. And it was lovely speaking to you, Melissa. Thank you.
You too. Thank you so much.